About 4,000 years ago, on a remote island in the Arctic Ocean, a species of woolly elephants known as mammoths breathed their last breath. Their extinction was caused by two major events: intensive hunting by ancient humans and unavoidable climate change. Now, in the midst of a climate crisis threatening humanity, researchers are attempting to resurrect them from extinction and bring them into the real world. The purpose isn't for entertainment like in Jurassic Park, but rather to make them allies in a greater mission. This commitment is realized through a project called De-Extinction, launched by Colossal Bioscience, which has created numerous breakthroughs to date. In this video, we'll explore De-Extinction together, how this ambitious project could change the world, and whether researchers are trying to resurrect dinosaurs from extinction so that what we see in Jurassic Park becomes reality. Here's our discussion on de-extinction. It all begins in a place at the edge of the world known for being silent, cold, and seemingly calm, yet hiding a major threat to humanity. Beneath its frozen surface lies more than 1 trillion organic remains of both animals and plants that died thousands of years ago, buried in layers of ice called permafrost. For centuries, permafrost has functioned as a giant natural freezer for the planet, keeping these organisms frozen and preventing them from decaying and releasing carbon and methane into the atmosphere. However, as Earth's temperature continues to rise due to climate change, the permafrost layer has begun to thaw rapidly, reaching a dangerous point. If this thawing continues without prevention efforts, permafrost will release trillions of greenhouse gases into the air, which could dramatically accelerate global warming. The more greenhouse gases that are in the atmosphere, the warmer the climate, the thicker the active layer, and the more greenhouse gases can escape from that portion of the permafrost that was locked away. To prevent this from happening, some researchers are looking to the past to understand how the northern ecosystem worked when Earth was still in the Ice Age. Before becoming extinct, woolly mammoths played an important role in maintaining the stability of permafrost in the Arctic. They naturally roamed around, clearing snow and knocking down young trees, keeping the ground surface open and directly exposed to cold air. This activity inadvertently helped keep soil temperatures low, preventing the permafrost layer from easily thawing. However, after mammoths disappeared from the ecosystem about 4,000 years ago, the Arctic landscape began to change drastically. Forests and shrubs began to grow freely, covering the ground and absorbing more solar heat, causing permafrost to thaw more quickly. In regions like Siberia, after permafrost thaws, mammoth remains such as teeth, tusks, and even intact bodies have been found in frozen conditions. Because their bodies were preserved thanks to extremely cold temperatures, researchers have successfully reconstructed the entire mammoth genome from DNA samples. They will eventually be resurrected through a major project conducted by an American biotechnology company, Colossal Bioscience. These resurrected mammoths will later help humans in saving Earth from the threat of climate change in the future. What we're looking at now is the dire wolf, an ancient wolf species that went extinct thousands of years ago, serving as the first step and proof that the De-Extinction project isn't just empty talk. Many people know dire wolves from the Game of Thrones series, where they're portrayed as giant, ferocious wolves that can kill humans with a single bite. In reality, the size of dire wolves wasn't as large as depicted in the series, but slightly larger than the gray wolves living today. They once lived from about 125,000 years ago until 10,000 years ago at the end of the Pleistocene, which we commonly know as the last ice age. They were generally found in North America, from Alaska to Central America, and even some of their fossils have been found in South America. One of the most famous sites full of dire wolf fossils is the La Brea tar pits in California. Here, natural asphalt, or what's called tar, has seeped to the ground surface for tens of thousands of years, forming sticky traps invisible to ancient animals. Large animals like mammoths, smilodons, bison, ancient horses, and dire wolves were often trapped in the tar when trying to find water or while chasing prey. Once one animal was trapped, its smell could attract other predators who would eventually also get trapped. Because asphalt has the ability to preserve bones very well, the La Brea tar pits have become one of the richest and most important fossil excavation sites in the world, providing much information about Pleistocene life in North America. However, what needs to be noted here is that what researchers are doing isn't raising creatures that have truly died from their graves, but rather creating genetically engineered animals that resemble extinct species. From here arises a big question. How can researchers possibly resurrect ancient animals using genetic engineering technology? Currently, genome editing techniques are becoming the main focus in efforts to resurrect extinct animals, including woolly mammoths. All of this is made possible with a new genetic engineering technology called CRISPR-Cas9, which allows researchers to edit DNA with great precision. As an illustration, DNA in the bodies of living creatures is like a book containing complete instructions on how the body forms and functions. In this system, CRISPR acts like a table of contents that knows exactly on which page to find the body function to be changed. Meanwhile, the Cas9 enzyme is a magical scissor that can go to specific parts with the help of guide RNA, or think of it as a kind of GPS, to cut and replace it with another body function. Researchers discovered this from observations of bacteria where, if attacked by a virus, they can remember the genetic sequence of the virus and store it in a memory system called CRISPR. Lots of bacteria have this type of defense mechanism. But in 2012, scientists figured out how to hijack CRISPR to edit not just viral DNA, but any DNA in almost any organism. Thanks to this method, which might sound quite complex to us, researchers can find specific genes that enable mammoths to survive in cold environments, helping them produce thick fur on their bodies. This gene is called TRPV3, which will be copied and inserted into Asian elephant cells, considering that both share a DNA match of up to 99.6%. After that, the nucleus of this modified cell will be used in the somatic cell nuclear transfer process, where the nucleus is inserted into an Asian elephant egg cell that has had its nucleus emptied. The formed embryo is then implanted in a female Asian elephant uterus, acting as a surrogate mother. Colossal Bioscience estimates that the Mammoth De-Extinction project will bear fruit in 2028, when we'll see baby mammoths for the first time after thousands of years of extinction. It's possible that not just one baby mammoth will be produced, but several, similar to the dire wolves before being reintroduced to the Arctic. In addition to woolly mammoths, Colossal Bioscience is resurrecting other animals that went extinct due to humans, such as the dodo bird using Nicobar pigeons as surrogate mothers, while thylacines will use fat-tailed dunarts. However, there's actually a bigger plan to make this de-extinction project even better. They will no longer use the wombs of certain animals as vessels, but instead intend to develop artificial wombs that allow embryos to grow without needing surrogate mothers. Colossal Bioscience also wants to build a biobank, a kind of biological archive or library that stores tissue specimens from various living species. The hope is that when a major disaster wipes out biodiversity, lost species could be brought back using stored genetic material. Not a few researchers consider Colossal Bioscience's achievements as something to be proud of, but there are aspects worthy of criticism. For example, they disagree with the company's claim calling these genetically engineered wolf pups dire wolves. Scientists believe that these animals are more accurately described as genetically modified gray wolves, not true dire wolves. This statement then reminds us of a scene in the Jurassic Park movie where the dinosaurs in the film weren't really dinosaurs from the beginning. Additionally, one of the most heavily criticized things is the following Times magazine cover, where the word extinct is crossed out, seemingly promoting extinction as something that can be canceled, which might make people take it lightly. As a result, there's a risk that de-extinction will be seen as the ultimate solution for every loss of animals on Earth, making humans feel unconcerned about protecting nature. However, this opinion seems somewhat exaggerated because Colossal Bioscience itself, in its mission, also wants to innovate in conservation, such as using AI drones to monitor animals in captivity that is difficult for humans to do. They are also trying to find a cure for a deadly virus attacking baby elephants, both in the wild and in captivity, which is one of the main causes of elephant calf deaths worldwide, with a mortality rate reaching 66%. So, will Colossal Bioscience resurrect dinosaurs? This isn't simply a matter of taking DNA from ancient mosquitoes that sucked dinosaur blood and then mixing it with frog DNA to bring dinosaurs like T-Rex to life. Although it sounds simple, in reality, this method seems impossible because all dinosaur fossils so far have turned into stone, making it highly unlikely to obtain their DNA. That's why only ancient animals that lived thousands of years ago with well-preserved fossils still containing DNA can be resurrected.